So, again, good. I know we're different parts of the world. So I'm in the UK. So obviously it's in the evening right now, 7 p.m. I know you guys. Some of you are in the States. Some of you are in. I don't know if anyone is here presently from Sierra Leone or Europe. I think Ernest, you're in Denmark, right?
In Norway,
In Norway.
one
Apologies.
hour
Okay,
ahead of you.
so so 1 hour ahead. So different time zones. So hello and good afternoon, good morning, and good evening. So just to continue the tradition that's been set by, members of the executive of SLinT, to, know your colleagues. So I think probably I'm the only presenter today. So I think I like to start off with, just my name, which is Abdul Malik Jalloh. It's actually um, was Jalloh Jamboria, but then obviously I'm using Jalloh actually, as opposed to Jamboria, because Jamboria is just a reference of where my people came from. My great grandfathers, where they came from in Conakry, Guinea. So just a reference, but I know that, so I had to pass that name on to my kids, my two daughters, so they carry that name. So I am fine with Jalloh, by the way. So I mean, at present, I work as an IT and computing head of IT and computing as head of IT and computing. I'm in education, so secondary school in East London. So I've been there for, I think I started with them in July, but before then, I was a lead computer science teacher. I also worked as a lecturer in a college as a computer science lecturer, but I've also done a few bits and other things in IT. So my first job ever in IT, but I'm going to get to that, but I just want to introduce myself, what I do right now. So a couple of things I do. I mentioned already about me being head of IT and computing, but also a computer science tutor, assessor, and also I've started delivering HNC. It's a certificate, which is a diploma and a certificate simultaneously, depending on the level of the student. So it's an online cybersecurity course. Yeah. And obviously, my background, I worked in IT before, and I recently graduated in computer forensic and cybersecurity last year. Was it last year, 2019 or 2020? I can't remember again. I think it was 2019 or 2019. So yeah, and so because of my experience and that, I consider myself to be an IT professional as well, as I've been in education. So um, my background, so born and raised in Eastern of Freetown, Sierra Leone. That's my picture there of me, in Akibobet Municipal School. That's the only picture I can salvage. Actually, I got that from my mom um, less than a week ago. And obviously, there's another picture of me in secondary school on the right-hand side. Again, it's such a shame. That's the best I could come up with. But yeah, that's me in Prince of Wales. Obviously, most of you know Prince of Wales. And yeah, so that's the secondary school I attended. And when I came to the UK in 2001, I went straight into college. I went to Lewisham College, and I did like an access certificate to computing, which is a course, an access certificate to computing. So I did that, and then I moved on to, I did some other courses. I did like an IT support course, and then obviously I was able to work as a data entry and IT support assistant. But if I dial back, so my first ever use of computer was actually in Freetown. And I could remember when I went into one of those cafeteria thing that the people were doing this computer. It was a new thing. So I went into one of those shop. It's one of those places they called, they were doing computer at the time. I think I turned it on, and I think it took me a good 15, 20 minutes, because I just assumed that I know what to do. You know, I was actually trying to use the internet at the same time as well. So it was kind of like very new to me, but just the challenge that it presented to myself, being trying to work out how to use it and all of that. So I think that was my first interest I got in IT. But also, if I could dial back many years, I remember when I was growing up, we used to watch, how we watch football matches, like when there were Nations Cup, African Nations Cup, World Cup. We have all these antenna outside of the house. You have to go upstairs, up the roof, and try to just move things around. So I was fascinated by that as well, being able to get a signal, get a picture qualities, audio and video at the same time, simultaneously, from just that thing hanging on the roof. So I was fascinated by that. So that's also one of the things, a few of the things that actually sparked my interest into IT. And then I came into I came into IT as in studying IT as an access to higher education in computing in the United Kingdom in 2001. And then shortly when I started, I have my first, IT job in 2001, which was IT and data entry. So I was doing at the time, it was a company that basically MS Electrics just tried to enter as much details as I can accurately in terms of clients or customers. I consider myself to be an educator because I'm in education, I educate students, and actually it's something I think I was not expecting to be in IT, but in it because it's not something I actually thought of, growing up. But I think it happened by chance. So I, kind of like embrace the opportunity fully. But I'm also a student. I keep learning. I am studying for a few certifications, which, that's a story for another day. Because finding time, being able to, you know, devote that time to studying, being able to manage your time and all of that. So yeah, I am still doing that as we speak. Now, so that's just a brief background of myself. So who am I? So I've got two beautiful daughters, obviously, and I'm also a son, and only son, only child, and also I've got siblings. I've got two brothers and a sister, but they all live in the States. But obviously, every now and again, I do visit as much as I can. And one of the things that I like the most as a hobby is traveling and playing football, gym. I try to cook as much as I try to cook as much food as I can in terms of myself, as opposed to buying food outside. But most of the time, when I get busy, I just have to make do with what I can actually buy. But yeah, I try to cook most of my food, and I'm passionate about IT. Like I said, when I had that first experience back home in Freetown, Sierra Leone, and also going back to when I was actually going upstairs on the roof, being able to move the areas around just to get a proper signal to watch football matches and so on and so forth. That's how I kind of like, wow, how is this happening? Being able to just a simple antenna outside, being able to receive all of that information as in data. Okay. So I'm leaning towards obviously my recent qualification, which is an MSc in computer forensic and cybersecurity, has helped me to learn a lot more about this security in terms of IT. So I'm leaning towards computer forensic. That's what I'm really passionate about, but also I'm very passionate about education. So I'm trying to find a way if I can fuse the two together, especially if something I can be able to do back home, because my passion, my dream is to go back to Sierra Leone, even if not at once, but gradually to go back to Sierra Leone and being able to, because I'm keen on knowledge transfer as well. I believe in, being able to learn something and then pass it on. So that's one of the things I would love to be able to do back home in my country as well. And involved in as much as charity work as possible, being able to help out, being able to, provide whatever services I can to the people of Sierra Leone. So moving on. So that's in a nutshell who am I. If I go now to my next slide, which is work. So like I mentioned in the start of the presentation, I did a managing IT at computing department in a secondary school. So what does that involve? It involves me creating content. So I create content. Some of the content I create from scratch. Some of the content I do not have to create from scratch because they already exist. I just adapt them. Those content in line with what I'm going to deliver, in line as well with the level of the students. Okay, just be able to adapt them. But I also plan the entire delivery of the course in terms of what's going to be delivered in term one, what's going to be delivered in term two, in term three, and make sure the resources are available as well. But I also the lead assessor in a separate course, which is called BTech, Digital Information Technology. So I'm the lead assessor, and I'm also one of the internal verifiers of that course because it's assignment based and then one exam. Like I said, I recently started this online cybersecurity tutor to HNC and HND students, and then Creative Eye Media. So the Creative Eye Media is one student, the HNC and HND, it's basically about 8 students at the moment, but with the view to increase, but I'm doing it through a college as well. Fun fact, like I said earlier on, love to cook. That's me making bean sakara or bean chakara, and obviously going to the gym. But now that's not something I can do. Obviously, COVID. Um, and I had to go to the cinema. You know, I think the last movie that I watched was the last movie that I went to see was, I can't actually remember now, but I think it was when we had a little break in COVID. So I managed to sneak in and go to this and actually saw that movie. You know, and so these are things that I used to take for granted. And I'm sure many of us are used to take them for granted, but now it's something that I can no longer do because of safety or COVID. So yeah, so again, I'm also computer hobbyist. I believe in constantly learning, as you all know, because you guys are like IT professionals, and we know in this field you have to keep updating the knowledge. That's a fact. So yeah, I do it as much as I can, as best as I can, in terms of managing my time and being able to devote my time to my two beautiful daughters as well, and my mom and family. So again, like I said, spending time with my beautiful daughters, they're amazing. The reason for which I do everything that I do, try to set the best example. And I was saying to them yesterday that, despite them being my daughters, they're my kids, it's the fact that I also feel accountable to them. Their actions I will never do, because I will never want someone to say to them, oh, that's something negative has been done by your daddy. So I was just trying to explain to them so they understand that it's a two-way street. Yeah. So that's my contact. So my contact information is my LinkedIn profile there, and obviously my email address. So I'm one of those people who signed up to an America Online, and I'm stuck, and I can't seem to get out of it. It's it's like when people ask me what's my email, and I'm like, America Online email. They're like, what? Dude, where do you live? I'm like, yeah, I understand, but yeah, I love it. I'm gonna keep it. You know. So yeah, I'm stuck with it. I actually love it, but obviously that's my LinkedIn profile. But one of the things that I'm actually tried to do as well, had an opportunity where I was working in IT and I left for family reason. I left because my kids were young, so I decided to go into education because I think that would best suit my arrangement at the time because of the kids that I have. I want to make sure that I was there for them. And so I think I'm kind of I'm ready to get back into IT as in IT, not just delivering IT courses. So that's one of the reasons why I did my master's in forensic, and hopefully I'll be able to transition back into IT profession full time as I wanted to do. But yeah, at the moment I am in the school, heading the computer and IT department. Like I said, it's amazing so far, but like with all jobs, there are challenges. There are days which are amazing. Being able to pass knowledge on to people, it's a blessing. Especially students. You get to shape how they think of a particular subject. You get to rekindle whatever you know interest they have, if they don't have it, or if they have it or they had it before. So I think I'm in best position, as I am right now. I think I'm doing what I was probably destined to do, being able to, make kids or students or young children find as much interest in IT as possible, especially now this current day where everything is moving on to remote or online delivery. So yeah, I think it's paramount. It's an exciting time to be an IT and computing teacher. Yeah, so the floor is yours. You guys can let me move into. You guys can ask questions.
Hey, excellent, Malik. So what year were you at Prince of Wales?
Oh, I think I left. I think 94, 95. That's when I left.
Okay, that was before me then. I was
That
there.
was before.
I was there briefly in 1998, 99. No, 97, 98, 99. Briefly.
As a
Yeah,
student?
maybe that
Yeah, as
because
a
one of my
student. You
uncle was
think I'm
actually
that
there at the
young?
time as well.
Yeah. I never knew you were that young.
I am very young. So I don't want to steal it from you, Abdul, but there is a lot about about me that I can say in this 15-minute sessions. Yeah. I was at Prince of Wales 1997, 1998, 1999. I actually never completed my time at Prince of Wales. I attended SS1. I was part of the first set of SS students at Prince of Wales.
Wow.
And I was also part of the first student that took the Becker exam in Sierra Leone, and that we are supposed to take the WAS exam in Sierra Leone.
Oh yeah, I didn't do WAS.
So if you were before Becker and before WAS, then we will not meet in school. If we met in school, then probably you were either in Form 5 or Form 6, and that will be the last days of Form 5 and Form 6 in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Because we were the ones coming right after the Form 5 and the Form 6, and we were the first for everything MPSC. Basically, everything M6334. So I took the first MPSC in Sierra Leone. I was part of that class. The first Becker in Sierra Leone, I was part of that class. And the first WAS in Sierra Leone, I was supposed to be part of that class, but I did not take the WAS in Sierra Leone. Instead, when we went to Guinea as refugees, while I was in SS1 at Prince of Wales, I took the exam in Conakry to enroll in a Liberian school for 12th grade, and I got the best score, so they took me in 12th grade. And that very year, it was the first time that the Liberian government was able to allow refugee students in Conakry to take the Liberian WAS. I took that Liberian WAS, and fortunately for me, I was the only one also who passed. And that Liberian WAS is actually what I used to get enrolled in college in the US. When I went back to Sierra Leone, I actually went back and sat down in SS2 after I had passed my Liberia WAS, waiting to take the first WAS in Sierra Leone. Because Frobe College could not accept that WAS, or Jalloh, none of them could accept it.
Is it because they didn't understand it, or because it was not from Sierra Leone?
They don't like the Liberia WAS because it's considered a national exam. Because so the Liberia is not part of the regular WAS. They have a name they call it, right? So it's national to them, like Becker is national to Sierra Leone and Becker is national to Ghana. So the WAS is kind of national. To be frank, I don't know why, but the bottom line is Frobe College could not accept me, Jalloh could not accept me. So I sat down in SS2 while I have my results sitting down at home. And then January 6 came and I gave up. I said, no more high school for me.
Yeah.
That was the end for me. So I'm pretty young, Moses.
Wow, I didn't even know you were that young, to be honest with you. I mean, I see you smiling. Have you got a question there?
For me, I have a question. I'm smiling at Tamba. I don't know. We might have crossed paths in Guinea or somewhere in Conakry or Gegedo, because the name sounds familiar, Tamba Lamin. And I also went to school in Guinea, both in Conakry and in Gegedo, through this refugee skimming thing you're talking about.
IRC.
IRC, yes. I did. I went to IRC, and I know we have crossed paths somewhere, but we can save that.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about But yeah, interesting profile. And I guess I have you on LinkedIn, but on LinkedIn, we just know each other. And this is very interesting. And I don't know how are you seeing you creating content for Sierra Leone, because you're doing an incredible good job in terms of the content you're creating. And I guess it's very easier for you to delegate or even share this content with the audience of Sierra Leone. And I don't know if it's very difficult for you because you're already enrolled to an institution, but I think this is some of the things we need to push to the upcoming generation so that they can utilize people like you. And maybe you can collaborate with universities or maybe colleges if possible, because you're wasting your time in UK, I must say.
Oh yeah. I before, actually, honest, had you said that like maybe 6 years ago, I would have taken offense. But now I welcome that comment, been wasting my time. Listen, again, I've been to Sierra Leone in the last 2 years. I think I've been to Sierra Leone like 6 times. And the reason why I never stop going, I keep going, it's because of I realized that there's so much we can do, and there's so much Sierra Leone has to offer, you know. And again, I know it's difficult. I know it's challenging, but I'm one of those people that when someone mentions Sierra Leone, despite all the adversity, whatever we face, there's a smile on my face, because I think that it's going to take us to make that change. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, but change, you know, transition is not something that come about easy. You have to fight for it. And sometimes, you know, you have to fight a lot for it to happen. So yeah, in terms of the content that I do create, because I work in a school settings, so technically whatever content I create in that school belongs to the school. Yeah. But for me, it's not an issue because I've done it once, I've done it twice. I can do it on top of my head as well. So I don't even need all of these resources in terms of physically taking them with me, but I can create the content. I can make sure that the content is also reflective of the environment which we are, especially a place like Sierra Leone. So, you know, like Sierra Leone in terms of IT and computing, how many kids do we know that have access to computer that, you know, like a computing device, you know? And also, this is one of the things that I believe in education. And I'm going to say this, I think maybe Ernest might agree with me, Tamba, maybe all of you might agree with me. What I believe in terms of especially computer programming, okay? Because I actually deliver Python as an enrichment activity. So after school, in between school, so sometimes in between lunchtime and everything for like 30 minutes, and then after school for people that are actually interested. So what I believe when it comes to programming, you know, I feel like, especially places like Sierra Leone, and even in this part of the world, in the West, we need to teach programming like we teach ABC. So what I mean by that, I mean like that. So myself, all of you here, we can pick up a book and we can read the book, right? Because we know A, B, C, D, E, we know present, past tense, we know sentence construction, we know all of that. So I feel like as a country like Sierra Leone, especially Sierra Leone, if we want to make massive change in terms of getting the next whatever generation of IT professional, we have to start from primary school. Now, I know a lot of people might be saying that is challenging, that is, yes, but guess what? That's where we want to start. We're not going to give up on the ones that are in secondary school. We can start as well. We can actually put a band-aid on those ones because they've lost many years. But if we start from primary school, we get them to grow with the technology. And that is fresh for them because they can understand it like ABC. You know what I mean? They can understand it like ABC, and that can give them a very, very good basis. You know, they can make the choice. Oh, I don't want to become a programmer, but at least they have more than the fundamental that is required for them to become a programmer or go into any form of IT.
I'm glad you said that, Malik. Thank you very much. Some time ago, a few days ago or a few weeks ago, when I talked to my employees, we're working on an education project, and I tell them, you know what, we'll fail the Beckett student, we'll fail the WAS students. Basically, I usually use the word now, we're snappy. We don't fail them. Now we go to the primary school.
So we have failed them, not we're going to fail them.
When I say we fail them, I mean we as people, we as Leoneans. I'm not making any exception.
Yeah, I understand.
Including the government, every one of us, the parents, the government, we've all failed them. And we can only fix them with a bandage. But we can make it right for those in primary school. Start from class 1, start in elementary. We can fix it. Because the problem we have today is generation.
So you don't believe that we can start from university level?
No. Those are in university are already set in their ways. They cannot be fixed.
So
that's just my belief.
Something I disagree on because I actually started really working with computers when I was first year university.
But were you in Sierra Leone?
No, this was when I left Sierra Leone.
Thank you.
Where you see the problem, right? We are not in Sierra Leone already.
But
but I left Sierra Leone and then I went and then I started using computers.
Yes.
I know. So I actually started in Sierra Leone, but I was just terrible at it. But I think
Emmanuel Pratt was the guy who created my first email address, and he used to check it for me.
A lot of interesting conversation here, and some are like more like a broken radio in my ear, because Tambano, there's this scheme called Code for Africa. Tamba knows about it, and this is more like NGO or more like global funding in order to help people out of illiteracy using computer skills in Sierra Leone. Not in Sierra Leone, but the whole of Africa. But it's called Code for Africa, and then you enroll, and then you get some fund, and then you apply it. Do you know that we have one for Sierra Leone? And you ask me, where is that gone? I don't know, but I know IDT Lab and some other institution were using that scheme to make money. And that will have been a resource which should be used on, schools. But I don't want to go in detail, but I think there are a lot which has been done in order for us to break that gap. And one thing me and Patrick from Facebook normally discuss is we lack mentorship, because even in the West or in the diaspora, you discover that there are few minorities in the tech section. And that's because we don't have any mentors or anyone we look to who are in the leadership roles in these big four tech companies. So we don't have someone we look to that we want to be like. So even in Sierra Leone, people don't see programmer or software job as a job that can take them out of poverty. And that's a big disease, because if you don't believe that, somehow people go to school so that when they finish school, they get a job in what they're doing. But it's not always that's the case. You go to school because you want to acquire knowledge. You can go to school to professionalize or, kind of acquire certain specific sets of skills. But at the end of the day, even in software, when you start working, it's not what you learn at university that you'll be using forever. It's just like a foundation for you. So these are the things we need to, it's an investment. People need to know that when you go into engineering or software, it's not guaranteed that you're going to use all what you go through university in your, in your daily job. So if people are willing to learn and willing to learn beyond expecting that I will have a job after university, that's the first gap they need to break. They should be willing to learn because they have passion in learning, and they should be willing to learn because of curiosity. Because even now, people can learn from Sierra Leone with the internet. The internet is so useful that you can be in Freetown, acquire a software engineering skills or whatever skills you want. But you just have to have that willingness to learn and have a mentorship to do it. Because it's not only going through the curriculum. Curriculum is nice, but if we're able to convince them with that data they have on their phone, you can do a lot. You can do a lot. So like you in content management, you can use the web, you can use YouTube. You can even do it in Creole. You can do it in Creole in order for them to get this local feeling. It's possible. And I have all these ideas, but timing, it's another thing. And even I saw Ami sharing someone looking for a dev with WordPress skills. If I was greedy, I would say yes. But I have a lot on my plate, and I have to focus on what I have, be content with what I have so that I can be at my best. It's not just like saying, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, because that is what the mentality of our people, and it's generational course. But I know if you want to learn programming today, even if you've done university, there's still a chance. And there is no limitation, but I think Tamba is saying this from a large scale. And it's not like you enforce programming at university, but you should let them know the basic of programming. 2 years ago, I had the IoT session, session in Sierra Leone. And the idea behind the session is to give people this motivation of, you can acquire IoT skills without going to university. As long as you can read, you have the basic skills, and you have access to the internet, then you're free to go. And this was done at Sensi Org, because my impression was you use Sensi Up, you have free internet, you go there, you enroll at some cost, and then you use the internet. And then maybe I come in as a mentor, trying to help people how they can acquire skills. And that's where me and Tamba also met, because he wanted to do the same through his mentorship skills. So for me personally, I think it's not only doing it at even primary school, even at primary school, the kids who we should be maybe building applications for them so that they can learn how to code or usefulness of coding. You have Camp Academy, you have a lot of online resources, but people don't know how to spot these resources. And even if they go there, it's just to play with no intent of acquiring something afterwards. So the message down there is having people to be angry, hungry for education, because when I went to schools in Africa, in Guinea, or the whole of Africa, it was completely different. We compete for the best grade. We compete to be first in class. When I came to Norway, there were no competition. So I'm telling you, in Norway, it's just about for you to participate and get this basic skill. There is no competition in Norway in terms of schooling. But when you go to university, then there's a competition. But from primary school all the way to high school, there's no competition. So imagine you come from Sierra Leone and you have this competition mentality, and then you suddenly come to Norway. If you don't have that strongness in you, you're going to fall back, because you are like, oh, I don't need to compete, so let me just relax. So that's the drastic change in our society, because when we were growing up, our grades were genuine. Now, grades in Sierra Leone are not genuine because they buy them. The way of acquiring good grades in Sierra Leone, it's not like the way we used to. I'm telling you.
This is now not just Sierra Leone, though.
No, it's even in the West, you see celebrity acquiring grades for their kids to enroll in the best schools. It's happening, so it's not only the school. I'm just emphasizing that it's not acquiring this from the school. The school is just a kind of religious institution, but you can do it. I know people who use 1 year to acquire skills through YouTube, and they got a job. So it's possible. So we just have to give them the right message and the right mentality. And
I think Moses, you had a point about the university. Let's hear your point on the university students.
The students, okay, this is what I believe. Okay. So when I first came to the West, right, I knew very little about computing, but you made a mention, I think Ernest made a mention, right? If you want something, you can do it.
Yep.
And the way I see programming is anybody can become a programmer as long as you want. If you want to become a programmer, you can become a programmer. Anybody can program. So you can program in any language that you want. So that's how I see programming. I just see it as a tool.
Definitely.
So the reason why I was saying university, right? So let's say if you look at me, maybe I might be an exceptional case, right? Like I did not have any background in computing from primary school, secondary school. So my first day at university, we were doing like an Excel spreadsheet exercise, and I was sitting there waiting for the tutor to come and show me what to do. And he was, do you think this is high school or some primary school or something where they hold your hand and show you what to do? You have to do it. Then from there on, my perception, my mentality, everything changed, that I have to do what I need to do in order to go through this program. So from there on, and also you mentioned about a lot of things are on the internet. If you want to learn, you can just go, you pick up something, and then you would learn it. One way of actually learning programming is by picking up a project. Say, this is what I want to do now. There may not be an incentive, say, for example, in Sierra Leone, but in the Western world, the incentive is if you pick up a project and then you can do it, you can actually go to a job interview and then you say, hey, I picked up this project and I did it, and this is how I did it. So maybe that might be the actual difference between us here being forced to learn things, new things, and also people back home. But I strongly believe that maybe we may have failed, but we don't have all the resources. But if we start from university level, using my case as an example, then maybe we might have a chance.
You're perfectly right. So let me clarify my point where I said the university level, no. Not so much, let me put it that way. I don't favor it. The senior high school, I don't favor it. Even the junior high school, I don't favor it. And here is my reason.
Okay.
And I came to this conclusion actually last year, beginning from July to December. And what I have observed for many years that I finally confirmed this last year was that students we have in junior secondary, senior secondary, and university are how do we call it? They are grown-ups. They already have set up their mind they have their own ways that they've already set themselves up. Most of them are not under the control of parents as much as it used to be in the past. Or even if they are under the control of their parents, they don't necessarily do or follow what their parents tell them. It's that rebellious age, right? What we observed last year was when we launched the education platform, we had a lot more participation from primary school students than we have in the secondary school students combined. And the difference that we saw was that for the primary school students, the participation we got from them was because their parents were involved. 99% of them, their parents were involved throughout the process. When we go up to the junior secondary school and the senior secondary school, all they cared about was leakage and how to cheat in the exam. They don't listen, they don't follow instructions, they don't care about what you say, they just have their own ways. And when we start digging deep and talking to different people, they were spending more time and more money to find ways to cheat through the exam because they don't even believe the exam is done the right way, even if they are smart enough to be able to pass. They don't even trust the system. That's the bottom line, right? So instead of studying or trying to learn something, they just want to cheat because they believe that those who study will not pass. Those who don't study will not pass. The people who will pass are the ones who will cheat. Those who will find a way to cheat during the exam or to cheat after the exam to give them a good grade. But if I think about it wholesale, we also hire teachers, right? Teachers from different generations, and we could see the difference. Some of the good teachers that we got know nothing about computers, and these are old teachers in their 50s, in their 40s, and they wanted very little to do with what we were doing from a platform standpoint because they are not computer savvy and they don't even want to do anything with computers, but they are the good teachers. The other young teachers that we got who are in their 30s, in their 20s or what, who have gone to college, they did the teaching degree, and some of them have bachelor's degree. They like the technology. Some of them have learned and want to do everything the way we are doing it. But guess what? They are also a product of the very bad system where they don't know how to spell very well. They don't know how to construct sentences very well. Basically, they don't even have the basics that you should have for yourself, not alone to teach someone else. And after all of those analyses, is like, if they teach someone, that other person they are teaching is going to be worse than them. And then those other people are going to become teachers tomorrow, and they're going to teach the others, and they're going to become worse. So my conclusion was, let's focus on the primary schools and start teaching them the right way now, introduce them to the right tools now, grow them up to get to junior secondary, grow them up to get to senior secondary, grow them up to get to university. And then when they become the teachers through the right process and the right tools, they'll be able to pass that on to their students. And then we will break the cycle of the bad education system. That's where my idea comes from, that we should focus on the primary school. It's not like it will not work for secondary or the others, but we get the greatest effect when we put all of our eggs in the basket of the primary schools, of the primary student now. It's not going to be immediate. It's probably going to take 10 or 20 years. to get there. But once we get there, we break the cycle and it's done.
So breaking that cycle, are you going with the assumption that 10 years or 5 or 6 years from now, the leakages and all of that are going to be eliminated or exterminated completely?
They will not be eliminated completely, but they will be drastically reduced compared to what it is today, what it has become today.
So
no, go ahead, Moses. Go ahead. I want to make a comment.
So do you think we have a way to do that? Is there a will to do that? I think that would have to come from maybe government institutions or something.
I will not even say government. That's why I said primary schools. We start the mentality, brainwashing, right? Okay. These kids, we have been brainwashed from the days we are growing up to now to become who we are, right? So if we start cleaning them up as they are young, we start teaching them the right way, the transparency, the integrity, the exam integrity. If we start teaching them that from the primary level and they grow up with that and we continuously enforce that with them, we can break the cycle. That's what I believe. We spoke to David Shenge, the education minister, and one of the questions we had was, can you give us access to the national curriculum of Sierra Leone for primary school, junior secondary, and senior secondary? You know what his response was? For the past 30 years, we don't have a national curriculum in Sierra Leone. Did you guys know that?
I'll disagree with that because there is a WAS syllabus and there is a Becker syllabus.
No, the WAS syllabus and the Becker syllabus is not a national curriculum. It's by WAEC.
West Africa.
It's by WAEC, right? What I'm talking about is a national curriculum created by the Ministry of Education, focused on Sierra Leone with learning outcomes that could be subsets of the WAEC syllabus. So everything we have known and everything we've been learning and everything we've been focused on is the WAEC syllabus.
I thought the WAEC syllabus is country by country. Sierra Leone syllabus for Sierra Leone is a little bit different from syllabus for Nigeria and for the Gambia.
Yes, but the WAEC syllabus is focused on the exam. It's not focused on learning outcomes.
Right.
It's just focused on what you need to know to pass the exam.
I see.
And what you need to know to pass the exam does not necessarily equal to what you need to know to proceed from one grade to the other or to achieve learning outcomes. That's the difference.
So this would be a very long discussion because there are a lot of insights here. But for me, I think it's still possible to push this to the universities, but there are other requirements. You can have few experts in the university who can grades and stuff, and then people at university, they should be able to comprehend and read, because if you enroll them to Udacity or any online courses that we have access to, like I'm seeing claims through Orange SL that you can access these learning platforms for free. If they can enroll in these platforms and then make sure they follow, because these are like progressively classes. It's not like you have to do everything at the same day or in one go. So you can do it, but the willingness needs to be there. And then you need at least 1 or 2 experts. And because you want to teach people who will also teach the upcoming generation, because we are not many here. At some point, we need help. We need help because we can't do it all by ourselves, even with automation. So this is the dilemma.
Hey, Ernest, quick question, and this is to anybody else also. How's the penetration to like the rural areas if we want to deliver consistent content? What does that look like?
It's near to impossible if you want to do it on the internet.
Yeah.
It has to be local. It has to be local.
So wait, let me comment, Abdul. Delivering the content real time might be a problem, but there are a lot of ways you can deliver content. So you can have not a cached version, but you can actually have a recorded version. The main thing is the content. So the way you deliver, you can have a self-hosted content in your local server. You don't need the internet as long as you are connected through electricity and the pupils or the classes. can
So
access.
those are two things, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we say, you know, electricity is one, right? But then also
Yes.
when it comes to, you know, the resource itself, whether it's laptops or whether it's just, you know, a shared resource, whether it's libraries, things like that, is that available for students in the rural areas? You know, and I could be ignorant to it. I know some areas have it, like, you know, Bokana and whatnot, but
I
when
know
we're
for
talking
like
about throughout,
it's, I don't, if you have to put this into percentage, I think less than 50, it should be less than 60% are not having these resources you're talking about. And I know in McKinney, because I'm from McKinney, and the university, the secondary school like St. Francis and some other secondary schools, they have, but it's limited. And these are all things which have been donated before. And there has been this laptop for Africans came a few years ago. I don't know if you remember, which was a cheaper laptop with better battery that you can use, you know.
One laptop per child.
One laptop per child. You remember even the UN was involved, you know, like it's the promising thing to kind of help kids. And I've been following all those things. Look, money is there. During this this new government, there have been a lot of money, which is a lot of fund. Let me call it fund, which has been which have been given to Sierra Leone, for example. I hear about 750 million US dollar from the Gates Foundation. Where is that money? And you know, we as a small community, we can't do anything. We can try our best, but the governments or the people who in power, they need to, you know, they need to help us out there, because they have the resources. We have the know-how, but we don't have the financial resources to make this happen. It needs to be a collaboration between us and them if they really want this to work. If we're going to do this on our own, we have to start some NGO organization where we collect funds, because there are a lot of resource or infrastructural blockers, because you can't do this well without you know, having all these things in place. And then you have this ethnicity where like people will complain saying, oh, the North have more than the South or West, is, you know, things that are not necessary. But if you can do this in Freetown and it works there, then you can move to the next nearby rural city and stuff like that. But